We've already seen how we can sense values using our crumble, for example by using a simple switch with if-else statements, or by taking the analog value from a slider for example, and using this to change the speed of a motor or the colour of a sparkle. Now let's see if we can combine these skills so we make use of push buttons and sliders within a single project. I'd like to create a project where I can use a slider to change the brightness of my sparkle, but use a push button to switch between red and blue. I'll start by wiring up my sparkle in the usual way, before connecting my push button switch. I'll connect this to one of my positive terminals, and then connect this to input A. I'll then connect my slider. This time I'm going to daisy chain the positive terminal on the slider to this terminal on the switch, as this is already connected to a positive terminal on the battery. I'll then connect the negative terminal to any available negative terminal in my project. I'll use the one on the battery though, as it will make my project a little neater. I'll then connect this terminal to input B. We're now ready to add the code for our project. As always, we'll start with a program start block, followed by a forever loop, since I want my code to run forever. So how do I want my code to run? Well, I want to use the slider, connected to input B, to control the brightness of the sparkle, but I want to use the button to change between red and blue. I'll start by dragging two set all sparkles blocks and just putting them in empty space over here. For this one, I'm going to make the sparkle red, so I'll use the analog value from terminal B to control how much red there is. I'll do the same for this sparkle block, but this time I'm going to control how much blue there is. I now need to sense for the button being pressed, that is, to sense for input A being high. But when this happens, I need to switch from making the sparkle red to making it blue. From the control menu, I can use this do until block, which allows me to run some code until something happens. So what is it that's going to stop this code from running? Well, it's the button being pressed, which would send voltage to input A. From the input-output menu, I'll drag A is high and place it here. I'll then add my first sparkle code within the block here. Now my program will allow me to change the amount of red using the slider until the button is pressed. Of course, then I want it to control the amount of blue until the button is pressed. I'll drag another do until block and put it in position, adding A is high as the trigger and the sparkle block as the code within the loop. Okay, let's test it out. Excellent, my slider is certainly changing the brightness of the sparkle, but it seems a bit temperamental at changing between red and blue. Why might this be? Well, perhaps it's all running a little too quickly. As I press the button, my code is going to stop running this section and start running the next section. But what if the button is still pressed at this point? It's going to move on. I'm going to add a couple of wait blocks here and here to give me a chance to press and release the button before it starts sensing its value again. 500 milliseconds, or half a second, should be enough. Okay, let's test it again. Excellent! As you can see, we're able to use the slider to change the brightness of the sparkle, and the switch will change between the colours. Knowing how to combine a range of sensors allows us to develop even more complex projects, where we can use simple on-off switches alongside analog values from sliders and other sensors.